The BlizzCon 2019 dates have been revealed, so now we know precisely when we can expect the final unveiling of the long-awaited sequel, Diablo Immortal 2: Immortaler. Hey folks, this is Rhykker with a gaming news wrap-up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. This week's topics include huge RPG expectations with a BioWare alum joining forces with Wizards of the Coast, a huge step forward for modding in Overwatch, some Diablo 3 patch news, and more. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the video description. But right before we jump ahead, just a quick reminder to ring that sub notification bell to be alerted of new Saturday episodes. Now, in our first story, we're going to talk very briefly about Apex Legends, specifically its waning popularity. PC Gamer ran a piece covering how the viewership of this game has dropped 75% in just 1 month. Now, Apex Legends was a game that a lot of people, a lot of you folks, in fact, based on discussions in the comments, were excited about. A lot of people were saying, I normally hate Battle Royale games, but Apex Legends, there's just something about it. It's so much fun. I found myself diving into it and enjoying it, but I notice now I barely, if ever, play it anymore. And I'm imagining a lot of you folks fall into that same category. So my question that I want to pose to you is, why? What happened? Is it just that the novelty wore off? Why is it that Fortnite manages to maintain its stardom? Is it because it's constantly bombarding players with new patches with new content and Apex Legends is taking a much slower approach? Is it the unsatisfying battle pass, lack of exciting skins that come with it? Sound off in the comments. In other quick news, Netflix says that its series based on The Witcher will be launching before the end of the year. In case you forgot, this is the series that will be starring Henry Cavill, aka Superman, as Jerry of Rio de Janeiro. Alright, on to a story that has me really excited. It was announced this week by Wizards of the Coast that they were going to be spinning up a new studio in Austin, Texas that will be headed up by James Ohlen. So first off, Wizards of the Coast is the company behind Dungeons & Dragons, as well as Magic the Gathering. As for who James Ohlen is, well, he was the senior creative director at BioWare, where he worked for 22 years. It was in 2018 that he retired from BioWare, and now he's getting picked up by Wizards of the Coast. And this is sort of coming full circle, because he was originally picked up by BioWare because he was running 2 Dungeons & Dragons campaigns way back in the day that were so popular that there was a waiting list to get in. And this got the attention of the BioWare founders. So they recruited him and put him to work on RPGs. He was the lead designer on Baldur's Gate, a game that was very much considered Dungeons & Dragons in video game form. And in many ways, he's largely responsible for putting BioWare on the map. He went on to be the lead designer on Baldur's Gate 2, and then Neverwinter Nights, which moved from 2nd edition to 3rd edition Dungeons & Dragons, as well as Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and Dragon Age Origins. That's an incredibly robust portfolio of very well-received games. And it's not even the first time that Ohlen has been effectively put in charge of spinning up a new studio. In 2006, BioWare charged him with spinning up a studio in Austin, Texas, to work on Star Wars The Old Republic. Now, we don't know what this new studio under Wizards of the Coast will be working on. We do know, however, it will not be Dungeons & Dragons related. In fact, it also won't be related to Magic the Gathering. It's apparently going to be focusing on spinning up new IPs. Now, according to BC Gamer, Ohlen was quoted as saying, "I didn't think that I would be coming back to the game industry so soon, but working with Wizards is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Our mutual love of RPGs, world building, and interactive storytelling is a perfect match." I really look forward to seeing what these guys are going to cook up, and I just personally hope that it won't be too long before we hear something, but given this is just spinning up, it could probably be a while. Alright, on to some significant Overwatch news. The devs are implementing something called the Overwatch Workshop, which is, in a way, modding tools now built into the game. There will be no map editor and there'll be no way to import custom assets. However, we're effectively being given a series of robust scripting tools that will allow you to effectively create your own heroes. You'll have to use existing game models, but you can completely change a hero's powers. And this also allows for the creation of new game modes. And this is a great change for Overwatch, and I feel is very much in line with the direction that we were seeing Overwatch take. The first thing that happened was, way back in the day, we got these funny custom game modes like mystery heroes. Then later they rolled out custom game servers where you could host your own game and you can enable or disable certain things like double damage or no cooldowns. It was a very light form of being able to make a modded server. And what started to happen was servers started to emerge with rules that people would abide by, sort of hide-and-seek type games, specific game modes that really depended on the cooperation of the players and strict adherence to the regulations, but certainly fun game modes. Well, now with these official modding tools, these game modes can be made official. There could be real rules that govern it, facilitated by the game itself. Now, Blizzard actually has a strong history in the modding scene. StarCraft was a game that had a very robust map editor. I remember using it myself back in the day, and you can make custom maps, and then you can also create custom scripts to effectively make your own campaign scenarios. You did have to have a little bit of know-how in scripting, or at least having a background in scripting would definitely help. Otherwise, there's a lot of learning to do, and it seems this Overwatch system will be the same. Then, of course, in Warcraft 3, similar map editor. It's thanks to Blizzard that the MOBA genre exists today. It's thanks to Blizzard having modding tools in its games that allowed the first iteration of Defense of the Ancients, of Dota, to be created and spawn an entire genre. StarCraft 2 was Blizzard's most recent game, which, hell, is 9 years ago at this point, that had a robust map editor, the Galaxy editor. We currently see someone recreating Diablo 2 in StarCraft 2, complete with custom assets. It's a complete overhaul, but it's still built on StarCraft 2's game engine. I believe in the case of Overwatch, give it another year and we'll probably see some form of map editor. I do think that we likely will never be able to import custom assets, as in textures or character models, because I imagine all the Rule 34 stuff, and they're just not going to want to police that. They're not going to want to have to manually approve every mod, every custom map, every custom model and texture that gets uploaded. So you might have some form of map editor in which you have to work with existing assets. But this does seem to very much be in line with the natural progression of where the game is going, which is almost in a sense handing the game off to players and is sort of saying, well, here, you think you can make better heroes? Make better heroes. You think you can make more fun game modes? Make more fun game modes. And it wouldn't surprise me, in fact, to see them take game modes that'll be very popular, user-made game modes, and make them official. Now, speaking of Diablo 2 being remade in StarCraft 2, let's cover a quick Grim Dawn story here about a Diablo 2 mod in Grim Dawn. Grim Dawn has a very healthy modding scene, and one intrepid modder has been working on rebuilding Diablo 2 in Grim Dawn. As of right now, all the Diablo 2 classes are playable, all the quests, everything up to Act 4, and he is working on Lord of Destruction content, is my understanding. So if you are a Grim Dawn player and you are a Diablo 2 fan, you might want to check out this mod, link in the video description. And that takes us to Diablo news. So the Diablo PTR was intended to run for 1 week, and when that week ended and the PTR did not go down, people were wondering, well, what's going on exactly? We eventually got word that the PTR was being extended, and we actually got a new PTR patch this week. With this patch came a nerf to the buffs that they gave to the Captain America build. Now, it must be stressed that this does not kill the build. The build was way overperforming. It was possibly the most powerful build in the game. If not, it was the number 2 most powerful build in the game. This nerf, which overall, once it goes to live server, or compared to live server, is still a huge buff. Let's clarify. This is going to put Captain America at a place where it's still going to be the best or among the best Crusader builds. This nerf to their buff was warranted. Was it maybe over-nerfed a bit? Possibly, but it definitely needed some form of nerf. Now, something that really surprised me was buffs to items supporting rapid fire. And now we've seen the emergence of a rapid fire Legacy of Nightmares build for the Demon Hunter. It's certainly a viable build. I don't think it'll be a top build for the Demon Hunter, and part of the reason is that you are a sitting duck while channeling rapid fire. And the way the mechanic works is you really have to build up rapid fire stacks by channeling longer and longer to come to full force. But the second that you stop channeling, that all resets to 0 stacks. I think if they make the simple adjustment of giving at least 1 second, if not a couple seconds, before those stacks fall off, that would greatly facilitate the playstyle of this build. Also out of nowhere, we got a buff to the Inarius set. That is appreciated. Inarius is going to be the starter set for Necro next season. Inarius has not gotten any love in a long time. It is a viable set, but far outclassed in power by all the other Necromancer sets. With this buff, it's going to be maybe about 7 to 8 Greater Rifts more powerful, but I still believe it's going to lag behind the other sets. We also got a change to Chantotos, which people are misinterpreting as a nerf. It's actually not a nerf, it's possibly even a buff. Earlier in the PTR, Chantotos explosions were scaling with attack speed in the sense that faster attack speed would make more explosions happen. Well, it seems that was resulting in some server performance issues, so they've scaled that back to still being 1 per second, but higher attack speed increases the damage of every explosion, and in practice, this looks like it is not a nerf. And speaking of performance, community manager Nevelistus has come out with a blog post explaining some of the technical limitations behind extra stash space. It seems that the reason they are gating the 5 extra stash tabs behind seasonal unlocks is due to performance issues. Quote, "The more actors active in a game, like enemies on screen and items in your stash, the more the game will tax your system's memory. This issue on console is particularly difficult because there is a limit to how much system memory we can access. PC is more flexible in this manner, which is why we're able to add more stash space there." She later went on to say, "We also now understand where the wheels fall off from too much load, and it can't function the other way." I believe she's saying it can't function with them just giving us all the 5 extra stash tabs. The wheels are going to fall off. In other words, it'll be too taxing on the system, and game performance will suffer. And in our last story of the day, the dates for BlizzCon 2019 have been revealed, November 1st and 2nd. Tickets will go on sale on May 4th at 10 a.m. Pacific, Blizzard time, and a second wave as well on May 8th at 7 p.m. And that's going to wrap up this week's video. But do be sure to have checked out last week's video, in which we discussed how some of the fathers of Diablo will be attending the Path of Exile convention this year as honored guests. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and now YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider supporting on Patreon or YouTube and unlocking behind the scenes content. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more gaming content.